inside the studio, where we explore the minds shaping the future of the creative industry. Today, we are joined by the head of Toolbox Studio, a company making waves in the VFX industry. Let's dive into the journey behind the studio, the craft, and the future of VFX. Today, I'm really excited to sit down with the head of our Toolbox Studio, Parth Gadke. Parth is an absolute powerhouse with over 17 years of experience. He started out as a trainee artist, and since then, he has delivered over 160 international A-listers. The entire team genuinely loves working with him because of the positive and the happening culture that he builds in. Parth, so happy to have you on this podcast today.
Thanks for having me here, Renata.
Let's start with your journey. How did you step into the world of VFX and eventually become the head of Toolbox Studio?
Actually, it was very organic and it all just fell into place. I started working in around 2007 as a trainee artist, and over time, I got into all the departments in visual effects. I started with Roto, then moved to paint, then tracking, compositing, and so on. Then later on, I became a team lead. I led teams of over 100 artists. Eventually, I became a supervisor, and then I was looking at other departments as well. In due course of time, I co-founded a studio. I ran it for 5 years, and then I founded my own studio. I ran it for another 5 years. So over this journey, I collected experience in all departments that are related to visual effects, right from the artist perspective to the production perspective to management to budgeting and business development and everything. So all this experience amalgamated together and kind of set me up for the head of studio position at Toolbox.
For our viewers, can you tell us a little more about Toolbox Studio? What are the services that we do? What we actually do over there? What happens inside?
Right. So Toolbox Studio has been around since 2008. We work with over 150 individual clients from 4 different continents. We offer services that are related to animation and visual effects like roto, paint, match move, compositing, etc. Uh, the difference between other studios and Toolbox is that in our mindset, we are a boutique studio, but we have the capability to scale up fast in a very short period of time. And we have done that multiple number of times based on the project requirements.
That's amazing.
I'd also like to add that we are a TPN Gold Shield Next Gen certified studio. That is the benchmark for content security all over the world. We follow very strict regulations and rules within the studio and make sure that all the content that we get from our clients, all the IPs are extremely safe.
So that's next level of security going around here.
Yes, absolutely. And it is a non-negotiable for us. All the clients trust us with their data, and we do our best to make sure it is safe and it doesn't reach the wrong hands.
Okay, that's really impressive. Can you tell us a little more about the daily structured reviews that happens inside the studio and what is the impact that it actually has?
So we begin our day with the dailies, and since we work in shifts and there are multiple projects going on the floor, it is imperative that artists know what is going on. I have worked on shows where something that could be picked up on day 2 wasn't noticed till day 12, and we actually ended up, taking 2 weeks extra time to fix that. So dailies is basically where we review every shot that has been done till the end of day, the day before, and we see that the shot is going on track. Dailies is also more about the entire team coming together and making sure that the entire team is moving in the right direction on the project. Otherwise, then the project can get really bad real quick.
Okay, so this is like more sticking to the timeline.
It is about sticking to the quality. It is also about making sure that everybody is on the same page, that making sure that every artist over there knows exactly what is required for the shot to be 100% and what it is that the client is actually expecting from us.
Okay, that's really interesting. Now, as I understand that there are n number of people working in the studio, right? And everyone has their own different mindset. So, how do you cope up with all these different directions and views?
So over a period of time in my career, I've worked with teams ranging from 6 people to over 100 people. And in that journey, I've realized that it is all about empowering the artist. It is about instilling a sense of ownership in the artist and having empathy for the artist. By empathy, I mean making sure you know where the artist stands, and if he requires any support from your end to make him better, you should give all that support to him. Also, while managing teams, it is very important that you have kickoff calls. The entire team has to know what is being done. They need to know what the larger picture is. Otherwise, a lot of times artists are only concerned about their part of the shot, and they do that and they don't take ownership for the rest of the shot.
Right.
So it is very important that artists know what the larger picture is,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that everybody is on the same page, is moving in the same direction. It is also a lot to do with managing timelines. Just because I have empathy that an artist is taking time on a particular shot, I cannot let the project timeline slide.
Right.
So these are the things that you have to look at from a humane way, but also as a professional, you have to make sure that everything else is falling into place along with the larger picture over here.
Okay, so now we understand what goes inside the studio. But how do you build this business? What are the key challenges and the opportunities that you face considering Toolbox Studio works with so many international clients?
So I would say that the challenge is not really the work itself,
Okay.
but communication can be problematic at times because we work with so many clients from so many different continents. It is imperative that we understand the culture over there, and by culture I mean the culture of communication over there.
Okay.
What we have seen is that this looks good means many different things from many different clients. Sometimes 100% for one client might just be 80% for another client.
Okay.
So those are the kind of communication challenges that we face.
Okay.
Also, because we work across different time zones, sometimes for the creative team, it becomes a little difficult to attend calls at random times of the day, and we work on multiple projects. So that becomes a little tricky, but it's a part of the job, and everybody is cued into it and they know exactly how to handle it.
Okay, so everyone has to work round the clock. Is that the case that you're saying?
No, we try and keep a very good work-life balance.
Okay.
But when required, there are times when we do stretch ourselves once in a while.
Okay, that's really, I would say it's a fun work culture that you have built. That's the reason why people are so much into it, right?
Yes, work culture goes a long way
Yeah.
in making sure that your artists are happy and healthy. Just getting people to work all the time and making them stretch all the time will make sure that our artists either run away or fall ill. So that
Right.
is not something that we do, and we try and keep it very light. The atmosphere on the floor is always fun, and we try and keep a very light work environment.
Okay. So right now we have heard about the challenges. Anything about the opportunities that you can talk about here?
So I'd like to address the elephant in the room, which is basically AI, which a lot
Of
of
course.
people perceive as a challenge and some people perceive as an opportunity. And I think the truth lies between both these views. There will probably be some sectors where there will be job losses due to AI, but
Okay.
I wouldn't say those jobs are lost because of AI. Those jobs are lost because of certain poor business decisions. At Toolbox, we use a AI based workflow in certain pipelines,
Okay.
and we harness the power of AI to get quicker results. It
Okay.
Having something done from AI is giving you a quicker result, but that does not mean that it has actually replaced the human, because you still need somebody with an eye to look at a frame and tell if it is good or bad. if it is going in the right direction or not, if it is actually aligning with the client's expectations. So we think of AI as just a tool, and we use that tool to make lives easier for ourselves.
Right. Well said, I will say here. So, as people say, you either get adopted or replaced by AI. Is that
Yeah.
the case here?
Yes, we make sure that we are adapting to it, and quite frankly, it's changing every day. So we have to be at the top of the game, and we have to change ourselves with it.
Okay, so that's really insightful of you to speak about all these things, because we really don't get to see the inside of the studio that actually happens, right? We see the end product on the screen. However, we don't know what
Yes.
goes inside the the harder decisions that you have to make. That was really insightful what you have said right now. But can we hop back to VFX right now? So in the past 10 to 15 years, we have seen a sudden rise of VFX culture and the work that has happened, right? Now, what do you think? What's the way forward to it? Like, it will be saturated, or there will be other technologies coming up? Can you just tell us a little about that?
There will definitely be newer technologies coming in, and we will have to do our best to adapt ourselves to those technologies. AI will obviously be playing a major role in this, and we have to learn how to harness the power of AI and make sure that AI is taking care of all the technical things, and we are taking care of all the artistic things,
Okay.
because that is how it is going to go ahead. There is also a new format of entertainment which is come up, and that is the vertical format.
Yeah.
So there will be a lot of AI generated vertical content being consumed. So we will have to be poised to adapt to that workflow and work according to that. These things are usually uh, very short in duration. Each episode or each clip will be short in
Yes.
duration, so the workaround times will be extremely fast. So we'll have to adapt to that. That, I think, is where the future lies.
Okay, so in your perspective, the turnaround time for this creative deliverables is going to be quite high, right? So that means there will be a sudden rise in the requirement of artists, VFX artists and AI artists.
I don't think there will be a rise in the number of artists required.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a rise in the amount of work that an artist has to do.
Okay, so
So yeah, so the AI is not going to get rid of artists,
okay,
but artists will be expected to do more work using AI in a shorter time.
okay, so that's a lot more JDs added.
Yes. So another direction that will go stronger for VFX is going to be, digital twins, and we'll start doing more photoreal work, extremely photoreal work, where the naked eye won't be able to differentiate between what is real and what is digital.
Okay.
We have already reached that level over the last few years, but now it's just going to go a few more steps further, and it's going to be crazy. I see very exciting possibilities coming up.
I look forward to that. So that's enough of the business inside the studio. Now I want to know what made you take the decision that you want to be a part of this VFX industry. What was that turning point in your life?
So I didn't really do very well academically,
Okay.
and I wasn't cut out for the formal education kind of thing. And while struggling with education, in our time, having even like a Pentium chip computer was a very big thing.
Yes.
I was lucky enough to have access to one, and I started fiddling around with the image editing software, and from there I got better at it. And once you get better at something,
Yes.
you get a different level of confidence to try
Absolutely.
out new things. So then from there I tried out 3D software, and I realized that this is a whole new world, and it's a huge world. I won't be able to navigate it by myself.
Okay.
Then I enrolled into a course that taught me 3D animation and visual effects. And right when we were enrolling into that course, uh, the course counselors basically showed us clips from The Matrix and from Ice Age,
Yes.
And I think that was where
The
I
click.
kind of flipped, where I
Yeah.
said, "Oh wow, I want to be a part of this world. I want to be able to, contribute to movies as big as this, to projects as big as this." And that is where it actually started. Because earlier for me, it was just about 3D, and I was thinking in terms of Arcviz and games, but I had no idea that there's something like Paint, and there's something like Roto, and there's
Yes.
compositing, and you have this entire digital 3D world and this entire digital 2D world, and they collide and they create magic. So that was something that I figured out as a part of the course. And then by that time, I had kind of made up my mind that this is exactly what I want to do. That's how I actually got into the industry.
That's so refreshing to hear about, especially knowing that at that time it was not so much available to too many peoples, right? Hardly people know about this.
Yeah, and fortunately or unfortunately, when I started off, there was no formal education
Right.
in this field. Now you have proper universities that are giving graduation in this. There are 3-year degrees and there are 4 years honors degrees that you can do. So you're formally educated as well as you get a nice foothold into the industry.
Right. But at that time, that hand holding was not there, right? You had to learn by yourself.
Yeah, in fact, even while we were doing the course, most of the things that we learned by ourselves, because what the course teaches you is just how to use a tool,
Okay.
and that is where they stop. But how to use your logic is something that you have to figure out on your own,
Right.
which I think mostly everybody learns that by themselves.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you. Okay. So, Parth, can you tell us a little, like an advice that you would give to someone right now who is entering this VFX industry?
One advice that I'd like to give is get obsessed with observation, especially for visual effects and animation. It is all about observation. You really have to understand how light is falling, how something is reacting to light, the shadows, the composition, the compositing part of it is actually based completely on observation. You really have to understand motion, how it can actually make a difference. You have to understand and figure out how motion blur works. So all these things cannot be taught. It has to be built in, and you have to really get your eye trained. Because I believe that today, tomorrow, you will have a lot of software, you will have a lot of hardware, you will have all this agentic AI and computer vision and whatnot. But all of this is ultimately going to be controlled by your own vision,
Absolutely.
and it takes a long time to kind of get a very trained eye.
Yeah.
And once your eye is trained, then it everything just becomes easier. Another piece of advice that I would like to give is that visual effects as an industry will reward patience.
Okay.
I see a lot of young artists today wanting to become senior artists and pick up senior roles at a very young age.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Even if they get into senior roles, it is very short lived.
Okay. So
So,
that's where building
having,
the vision comes into play, right?
yes, and having patience really pays. Another thing is make mistakes, because that is exactly how you're going to learn, and also learn how to not make that mistake the next
Again.
time around.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a game of patience. It is a game of observation, and it is a game of just giving it your best every single day.
Okay. On that note, if someone makes a mistake in your studio right now, how do you
Yeah.
handle such situations?
So this does happen every now and then.
Okay.
And once an artist makes a mistake, the artist doesn't know that he's made a mistake, which is exactly why we have the daily reviews, where we can we can pick up any mistakes that are made by the artist, and the entire studio is doing the dailies together. So the artist also then gets advice from his seniors, from his supervisors, from his team lead, of how this can be avoided and how this mistake can then snowball into something much bigger at a later stage. So that is how we figure it out. If anybody makes a mistake, we tell him how he can avoid that mistake and what he could have done to completely save time and do this entire thing faster. And it just doesn't help that one artist, it also helps the other 50 artists who are attending the daily review with him, because they have not made that mistake yet, but they could have gone down that path and now they already know a way to avoid it.
Right. So that's thank you for saying this. Thank you for sharing this information with us. Thank you for being so insightful of all the things that goes inside the studio, how you're building Toolbox Studio, and of course heading the whole team. Okay, so has there been any situation that has made you rethink your decision to come into the VFX industry?
uh, there were a couple of shots, a couple of shows where I was pushed to the limit.
Okay.
I can talk about one show. I can't take names, but it was being directed by a very big director and an Oscar-winning director.
Okay.
And there was a shot which basically was supposed to happen in 7 days. That was the amount of time that was allotted to me as an artist, and I did my best, whatever I could in 7 days. And we sent it to the client, and the client gave a really long list of feedbacks on that shot.
Okay.
And then I asked for more time. I said, this list of feedbacks is so huge, there's no way I can do it in 2 or 3 days. So we asked the client for more time. And I worked on addressing that feedback, and the feedback was so dangerous that halfway through addressing it, I realized that this is not possible. I cannot do this. And I'm just not talented enough to do this.
Okay, that's brave to say, by the way.
Yeah, and I straight away went to my production manager and I told him that I am not cut out for this. I cannot do this shot. But because all the schedule had already been cast in stone,
Yes.
it was my shot and I had to do it. And I did again whatever best I could, and we again sent it to the client. He sent us 3 times more feedback that he had sent on the first take. And this kept on happening. And by the time that shot actually, got finaled, it was a really long shot, more than 1,000 frames.
Okay.
By the time it got finaled, it was about 1 year from when I had actually started the shot. And the 1,000 frame shot was cut into two 150 frame shots. And the part that was cut in the middle was exactly the part that I had worked on for a year.
Okay.
Because even the client finally realized that they couldn't shoot the shot well.
Yeah.
And they decided to just fix it in the edit and remove all the parts that were problematic.
Okay.
So working on the same shot for almost a year,
Right.
every day you're looking at the same frames for months together. It is the same 1,000 frames that are playing in front of your eyes for
Yeah.
10 hours a day. It really, really shook me up, and I desperately wanted to leave the field. And I was like, no, I cannot do this. I want to do something else. I cannot kind of work on this shot anymore. I used to dream about that shot. In the other 14 hours when I was not working on the shot,
Yes.
I used to still think about that shot. I used to see all the props and all the characters in that shot everywhere, while walking, while traveling, while doing anything. It was really painful for me. It still is a painful memory for me.
Okay.
But then it also taught me a lot of things. It taught me patience. It taught me that you are probably not as bad as you think you are. It also taught me that the clients are going to push you the hardest to get the best possible output, because for clients, especially Hollywood, quality is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It is something that they will not think even once. They'll delay the show, but they will get the best quality possible.
Okay.
So that short gave me a lot of pain, but it
Yes.
also gave me a lot of knowledge. It also gave me an infinite amount of patience, I would say. It made things easier for me going into the future.
Rightly said. So I understand that there is a visual fatigue that comes into play for the artist that works in the VFX industry, right?
Yeah.
Any advice for that?
I would give them the advice that I give my kids, basically avoid screen time.
Apart
So,
from your work.
yeah, apart from your work, once you're done with your work, then don't sit all day scrolling reels and, watching shorts and stuff like that. There is a whole huge world outside. Go explore it.
Right.
Don't just fatigue your eyes further, because you are going to fatigue your eyes the next day. We need pixel perfection. We are zooming in 30 to 100 percent and literally comparing one pixel with another. So that fatigue you cannot avoid, but all the other fatigue you can. So do that.
Okay, so that's the reason why you read so much of books. Am I right?
Yeah, that reading books I find is a good way for relaxing for me, particularly. So yeah, I do
Away
take,
from the screen time.
yes, away from screens.
Okay. Okay.
It
Thank
also projects me and it takes me to a different world that I'm not living in right now. So I love reading books.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Parth. Thank you so much, Parth, for sharing your insights. It's really inspiring to see how leadership, structure, and creativity comes into play at Toolbox Studio.
Thank you. Thank you, Renata, for having me over.
If you love this video, then stay tuned for more such interactions with the industry leaders from Toolbox Studio. Stay tuned for the next one.